Hello and welcome to SarahJane Creates. I'm Sarah. Today I'm going to be making Eccles Cakes.
It's my own take on them and I hope you enjoy them.
To make Eccles Cakes you will need 400 grams of flaky pastry. If you wanted to have a go at making your own flaky pastry, please see my video tutorial and blog. I thought it would be interesting to show the difference between homemade flaky pastry and shop bought puff pastry. So I'm going to use the two different pastries, which means I'm doubling up the quantity of my actual mixture. I also add in a secret ingredient, and it's this. If you don't have any leftover cake, that's fine. You can use some stale breadcrumbs. The reason I use it, I find it gives a better eating experience because the cake crumb helps break up the texture within the Eccles cake. If you are going to add in the cake crumb, ideally you want a cake that isn't strong flavoured. So leftover Victoria sponge is perfect. If you are going to use flavoured cake, then please try and use something that is lemon or orange flavour because you are using those flavours in the Eccles cake mixture already. You'll also need some flour for dusting, you'll need some egg white and some caster sugar to sprinkle and glaze the top of the Eccles cakes with. The equipment that you'll need is a rolling pin, a sharp knife. You'll also need a 6-inch or 15cm round cutter. If you don't have one of those, and I don't, you could use a breakfast bowl or a side plate. That will work equally as well. I'm going to go wash my hands, put my hair up, pop an apron on, and I'll see you in a minute to get started. The first thing that I like to do when I'm using any kind of dried fruit is I like to pick over them and remove any of the little stalks or unpleasant bits that there are to eat. It is a fairly boring job. This are the really horrible bits that I removed from my currants. As I said, it is a very horrible boring job, but let's face it, would you actually wanted to eat that? Can you see that? Like a horrible stalky bit. Very unpleasant. I've got my softened butter in here. If you feel it needs to have a little ping in the microwave, do 10-second bursts at a time. In the end, I microwaved mine for 2 10-second bursts and we've got this lovely soft butter. Right, to that I am going to add in my currants. I'm also adding in my soft light brown sugar, also called muscovado sugar. I'm also adding in my ground mixed spice. Give it a good mix. And then this is my mixed peel. Now normally mixed peel comes in a little tub and it looks like little squares, but I don't like that. So what I do is I get my food processor and some boiled water and I tip it all into the whole pot into my food processor. I've got a small food processor, and add my boiled water because these are the lumps that I don't like to eat. And I blitz it until I almost get a puree. The flavour benefits of leaving it in outweigh what you would achieve by leaving it out. So I found a way of keeping it in that makes it palatable for me. Then I need to add my secret ingredient. which by now we know is cake crumb. I use approximately 1 cupcake worth of cake per quantity, and just crumble it in. If you're using breadcrumbs, then just whiz it up. This is cake that I made probably 3 or 4 days ago. Really, it should have been eaten by now, but I purposely saved some. So, I don't know if you can see that terribly well. This is what we've got. The next thing to do is to get our pastry, shop bought or otherwise. This is my shop bought pastry, 375 grams. And I'm going to get my homemade pastry, which is 400 grams. This is my homemade flaky pastry. So it's been resting in the fridge for a good half hour since it's been made. Now I'm just going to roll it out in it. Make sure your pastry's not sticking by adding flour. Right, so I've rolled that out. I'm going to get my bowl. Then I've rolled it out as thin as I can, but you can always re-roll your circles. Cut them out. Oops, I didn't cut through there properly, never mind. That's probably a bit thick, so I'll just re-roll that one just to show you. That's better. Yeah, that's about the thickness that you really want. I'll put that to one side and I'll carry on rolling. When it comes to reusing the pastry after you've cut some circles, fold it so that you don't trash the layers too much, and then just roll out again. With the shop bought pastry, I wouldn't necessarily expect to get 8 circles out of it. The other thing that re-rolling will do is it will enable you to get a better yield out of your pastry. I suppose that's probably about 1 millimetre thick. Just don't want more pastry than filling. To fill our Eccles cakes, you need to take one of your circles, wet your finger in some water, run it around the outside, okay, and then take a good tablespoon of filling and plop it in the middle. Then, with the water acting like glue, I'm going to bring up into the middle your pastries. Turn it over with your sharp knife, score 3 lines into it. And you need to make sure that you're making a nice parcel so that the filling won't come out once it's cooking. You need to put the marks in the top because that will help steam escape so that they don't explode. I don't know why it's 3 marks, but it is. And then you just flatten them a little bit so that you can start to see the currents squishing through. All that's left to do is to just brush them in some egg white and then sprinkle them with caster sugar. Actually, just sprinkle it on. And then it goes into a preheated oven, 220 degrees C or gas mark 7, for approximately 10 to 15 minutes. But do keep an eye on it. They should be golden when they're cooked. This is Team Green, which is the shop bought puff pastry. As you can see, where the air has expanded inside, it's broken. Perfectly fine to eat. I will. Nice even golden colour. Smell delicious, smell really buttery and indulgent. Leave them on the tray for a couple of minutes before transferring them onto a cooling wire to cool down completely, or cool down enough for you to snaffle up. Now these are the homemade flaky pastry straight out the oven. You'll notice the homemade flaky pastry has got a very different texture to the shop bought puff pastry. Some of these are destined to be scoffed by me and the kids, and some of these are going to be presents.